So this week marks 3 years since the civil unrest that unfolded in Gauteng as well as KwaZulu-Natal. The unrest took place for 8 days in July 2021, where at least 350 people lost their lives. Some managed to survive the terror. One survivor who was shot multiple times and ended up in a coma for weeks due to the violent actions is Ntethelelo Mkhize. He joins us now to tell us about his life and what life has been like since the unrest. Ntethelelo, very good morning to you. Thank you so much for making time for us this morning.
Okay, good morning to you and your colleagues as well as your viewers of the show.
Sure. Ntethelelo, I want to start off here. Do you know who Mzukona Nzuza, Robert Gianni, and Simiso Nsele are?
Yes, they were all my friends who were shot and killed on that day.
Can you take us back to that moment? What happened?
It was just a normal day beside the fact that it was a lockdown. And then I was initially asked by Robert Gianni to come and fetch him to pay me a visit by my house where I was residing at the time. So I left my house to fetch him. We came chilled just as we used to do. And then he then asked me to drive around to fetch Umlamuli Nsele, and the second guy now who passed on that day. He was also shot by an Indian guy. And then as we were there, and then we received a call from some of our friends to come and eat meat for game. And then, which was now in Konobia, we drove to Konobia. Remember, I was residing in Tuzuma at the time. So we drove from Tuzuma to Kwamashu to fetching Mlamuli and then Mlamuli Nzele, and then we went to Konobia. So we actually encountered with this scene on our way back now, going back home to drop off Nzele and Gianni, because Nzuza was by my house. He was working out of the country. He was working in Zimbabwe, and he couldn't leave the country because everything was on lockdown. So we were attacked by a group of Indians, unaware. We were not aware of anything because when we were approaching or crossing Phoenix, we assumed that it was just, one of the protests. Maybe they were complaining about water because there was a water crisis at that particular time. Roads were barricaded, and then we then was blocked, stopped, and then they wanted to search the car. After searching the car, one small boy helped my car, and then they started shooting at us. That's how everything started.
Yeah. And when they started shooting at you, was there any explanation around what was taking place at the time? Was it clear for you at the time that this was actually related to what would later be known as the July unrest?
If you can kindly repeat, because I couldn't catch what you were saying.
Okay. So when they started shooting at you guys and started attacking you, at which point did you realize what is actually unfolding? What were they saying? Also considering that later on we would refer to this as the July unrest.
To be quite honest with you, I was unaware of anything, but I could hear some of the utterances while they were swearing at us, assaulting us, shooting at us, like calling us monkeys, dogs, Zuma's dogs, and all of sorts of swearing words you can think of that I don't think maybe might be consumable for your show. So I actually didn't know what was happening until when I woke up from the coma in the hospital after 3 weeks. That's when I was told what actually happened, because I was unaware of anything. So It took me like three weeks and a couple of days to actually realize how badly I was injured, and everything was history.
Yeah, and everything was history. One of the passengers that you had on that day, Mzwandile Magwaza, told the Commission of Inquiry that was headed by the South African Human Rights Commission that the group started shooting at the vehicle. I saw the mob hack my friends and shoot them. I ran until I came to a riverbank. He says that they were trying to burn the ones they had killed earlier on. I called a colleague, Mr. Govender, for assistance. He fetched my friend and left us near KwaMashu. Are you able to speak to what Mzwandile Magwaza experienced?
He's actually my niece. I mean, he was actually in my car when this thing was happening. So fortunately for him, he managed to jump off the car and ran away. But with us, we couldn't. I was the first one who got shot, 2 bullets, and Sele was the second one. In Zoza, they took him, tied him by the garden somewhere there, beaten up. He was like butchered, stomach. I mean, his intestines were out. But fortunately for Umzwandile, Magwaza managed to run away. And I remember he told me the story that, I mean, he did manage to get to get hold of his colleague, who was also a policeman in, I think it's in NIU in Pinetown. So he called him, and the guy managed to come in and fetch him. But it was pretty late because, I mean, he was speculating the time. He thinks maybe it was around 10 at night. So, I mean, the other guys couldn't get help. I myself don't know who took me to the clinic, because I hear initially I was taken to the nearby clinic, and then the following day I was then transferred to the hospital. So till to date, I don't know who helped me.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and in the Commission's report, you also speak about being able to escape, but then the shots were fired, and then later on when you fell, you were shot at again, and apparently there were videos that were taken of that particular incident.
I've managed to escape the first scene where I was shot by this Indian guy, 2 bullets, and then I fled to the second group. I managed to drive through, but I mean, on the third one, it was very hard because, I mean, I couldn't see anything. My vision was getting blurry, and I stopped the vehicle, and a group of Indian guys came beating me up. I remember one of them, I mean, who was a ringleader, I'll call. They were calling his name, shoot him, and it was like a game to them, actually, because, I mean, they were giving me a space to run away, as they were telling me to run away. Some of them will be beating me at the time, taking videos, taking pictures, and then they'll be instructing this guy or encouraging this guy to shoot me. And then the guy will fire a shot towards me, he will shoot at me. I will fall down, and then they will wait again for me to stand up and try running away. And they'll be busy laughing, swearing, beating me up, kicking me, all sorts of things. So until I blacked out or collapsed, then I don't know what happened, where I woke up on the hospital bed.
Yeah. Then you speak about the investigation, of course, after the entire incident. Mr. Bengu was the investigating officer that was appointed, and he invited you and other occupants who survived the attack to a bail application hearing at the Verulam Magistrates Court. The bail hearing was for a charge in which you were attacked. And while at the Magistrate Court, apparently on trial or being charged, the man who shot you and Mr. Nzele, quote, "The fat Indian man was accused number 4. Can you take us back to that? And also, what do you make of how the prosecution of this matter has been dealt with?
This is quite a sensitive one, because I mean, should I maybe explore some critical points of the case? Maybe I might be, followed or assassinated. But maybe I'll just highlight a couple of things, because I personally feel that the whole investigation was not fair enough. I mean, there was no justice served, especially to us, the survivors, and even the deceased. Because, I mean, when we were asked or instructed to come to court to identify, because that was the initial thing that was told to us, that, I mean, we are requested to come to court to identify the suspect. And then when we were there, the whole thing changed now. We were not even given a chance to identify the suspect, but we were told to, like whispering if these are the correct ones, or if these are the suspect who actually assaulted and killed us. And then I saw something that I've never seen in my life, where, suspects will negotiate their bail, and the court will be asking them, how much can you afford for the bail? How insensible that a court of justice can be, when people have murdered, when people were murdered. And even the statement that was given to the court by the investigating officer was, I don't know, maybe if I am allowed to use the word utter nonsense, because it was nothing in line with what transpired on the day. I mean, statements were changed around, and we were not even allowed to contest that, to correct that. Even our cell phone numbers were changed. Cell phone numbers were incorrect. Everything was incorrect. Even the times of the incident were incorrect. So it gave the suspects the loophole to get away with murder, of which it then happened. I tried to revoke the case, to reinstate the case, but it seems like nothing is happening, because I've just found out that, the docket has gone missing. There are no statements. And when you ask them to come and do a statement retaking, it's not happening. It's not happening.
Yeah. And of course, when it comes to bail, that is normal procedure, that the accused will also be asked how much they are able to afford. But I want to raise this point with you as we conclude. Excuse me?
I would like to argue on that one. I know it's not, but not in that sense, where even the suspect will be giggling, hugging, talking to their family members like nothing has happened. I mean, we got to recall that this was also done on the grounds of the Indian community. Even the judge, the magistrate, and you name them, they were all Indians. We were again discriminated. Even in the court of law, we were discriminated. And I proposed before the actual trial that the case must be moved from that court, and it didn't happen, because I suspected that the injustice will happen, and it happened as I suspected.
Yeah. Ntethelelo, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate that you've made time for us, and also revisiting that harrowing experience and losing your colleagues as well in that entire incident, and you as well surviving the incident after weeks of being in a coma. Really appreciate your time, and apologies to our viewers this morning as well. Can only imagine the graphic content and the explanation that Ntethelelo Mkhize had to go into as he relayed what happened to them during the July unrest. And of course, the South African Human Rights Commission on its finding also spoke about the story of the events of the racialized violence that occurred during the July unrest is not merely about indiscriminate racism of a small, defiant group within a larger Indian community.